Okay, can anyone see me? Just give me 2 seconds, guys, while I get everything sorted here. Say hello in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. I hope there's no technical issues because this is my first time using a different streaming software to what I usually would otherwise use. But let me just quickly make sure that everything is working okay. But for those of you who are tuning in, thanks for joining me. And let me just quickly mute this and hit this. Okay, so I am live, and again, thanks for your patience. I'm going to share this out quickly, so give me 2 minutes while I do that to make sure that that people are tuning in. Live now. Here we go. Okay, guys, thanks again for joining me. My name is Jackie M, if you don't know who I am. And I used to own a Malaysian restaurant here in Sydney, Australia. I am from Malaysia. I was there for till I was 17 and a half years old. But nowadays, I basically teach people how to cook Malaysian food. And I also still sell food. This is one of the things that I sell. Here you go. This is my meat curry paste, and what I'm going to do here is actually do a comparison study between a Thermomix, of which I have 3, and a Magimix, which I literally received, which I bought and received delivery of just 2 days ago. I've had very, very little background knowledge about this beyond what was conveyed to me by one of my Malaysian Hawker Pro students. Speaking of which, you know what, just let me actually copy this so that you can actually see. Paste duplicate. Okay, here you go. That's actually one of the links to join my space, which is my school community, but you can also find me just at jackiem.com.au. Or if you want to sign up to my email list, you can do that at jackiem.com.au/email. If you're watching this live, make sure you say hello. If you're watching a replay of this, say hello as well. Let me know where you're watching from, okay? And if you've got any questions that I don't get to cover during this session or afterwards, if you happen to catch this after the fact, you can always post them in the comments or drop me a line, and I will aim to get back to you after that, okay? So what I'm not going to cover is what the Thermomix is and like from start to finish, how it works and all that. What I will cover is the Magimix, okay? Because I'm going to assume, since I've been using the Thermomix in a lot of my online content for the last 10 years, you can actually go onto my website, jackiem.com.au, and do a search for Thermomix recipes, and you'll be able to figure out how it works, what it does, and what you can do with it, okay? So my focus today is on the Magimix, which is this thing here, the red one, and how it actually compares with the Thermomix, okay? Just as a heads up, I don't have a dog in this fight. I am neither a Magimix consultant nor a Thermomix consultant. I'm just an end user. I do teach people how to cook like Malaysian food, okay, at the restaurant level. So if that's your vibe, then stick around. But yeah, so just let me quickly make sure that I'm not missing any kind of chats here. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So yeah, just say hello, let me know where you're watching from, okay? Now, if you've got any questions at all in the meantime, make sure you hit me up, okay? So what we're going to do is a Malaysian chicken curry. The reason I picked Malaysian chicken curry is that I see a lot of Thermomix users tell me that the recipe that they've attempted on the Cookie Do platform, which is connected to Thermomix, right, is not that great, okay? And they say they've never had success with it. So every time I want to say, look, you know, chicken curry is an easy thing to whip up. I don't actually truthfully cook it in a Thermomix, but, you know, just to demo to you guys how I would tackle cooking a chicken curry in a Thermomix, this is what I'll do. And at the same time, I'll do it in the Magimix as well. Okay, so I don't want to ramble too much here because I want to get started cooking, because the cooking process itself is going to take a good 20 minutes or so, right? So we're going to get started first, and then we're going to talk about this as it's doing its thing, okay? So chicken curry, what sort of ingredients do you need? You need curry powder. If you're Malaysian like me, you don't have any qualms about using premix curry powders, okay? So we can use, what I'm going to use now is the Baba's meat curry powder. You can also use the Baba's fish curry powder. I'm going to use the meat curry powder today just for fun. And if you don't know Malaysian curry powders, right? Essentially, you will find if you buy any brand of curry powder, like don't go for the generic white people curry powders that you find at Woolies and all that, right? Go to a proper Asian grocery store and look at the curry powder range. Look for the ones that say made in Malaysia. And the ones that say made in Malaysia almost certainly are kind of like passed into like meat curry powder or fish curry powder or rendang spice mix or something like that, right? They all, for the record, will work for this dish, okay? Don't think that if it says fish curry powder that it contains any fish or any seafood, or that you can only use it for fish or seafood, okay? You can actually use it for meat, and in fact I do, but today we're going to use the meat one. But also any kind of Malaysian curry powder, doesn't have to be Baba's. Baba's is one of the good brands out there. Anything that says made in Malaysia is the go-to, okay? My own daughter, despite being half Malaysian, didn't know this, okay? So sometimes I feel like I'm saying things that sound obvious, but she didn't know this. She grew up around my restaurant for years and years and years, and when I closed my restaurant to look after my other kid, Noah, who's severely disabled, she had to go and have a go at making her own curry, chicken curry, and she went and bought some curry powder that was from Bangladesh, all right, and she couldn't eat it because the flavor was completely different and it was very, very, very spicy hot, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to actually cook using chicken legs, okay? Now, one of the reason why I'm doing this comparison study, okay, and in a while I'll get into the differences between the two machines, is because one of the gripes about cooking in the Thermomix is the fact that the blades are sharp, okay? So even though the Thermomix can actually do a reverse spin, which means that the dull side of the blade comes into contact with your meat, when you're cooking something soft like chicken, unlike beef or lamb, which I do sometimes cook in the Thermomix and it works fine, when you're cooking something soft like chicken, right, it turns into a little bit of a mess. By the end of it, the meat starts peeling off because it's being like hit by this blade at a constant rotation, okay? If you imagine like even like a dull blade against like a chicken leg or something like that, for 20 minutes, your chicken's gonna look really like kind of like chopped up, okay? So let's do this. Like I said, I'm doing this on the fly here. I haven't really thought this through that much. The reason being I'm very, very busy. So if you just bear with me, we're going to actually cook 3 kilos of chicken legs, okay? I just went out to buy some chicken legs. And we are also going to cook it with potatoes, okay? Which is kind of like the typical way of cooking Malaysian chicken curry. Let me just switch my screen layout here, okay? So you can see curry powder here. And I've got some chicken legs I'm gonna bring over here. Okay, 1.5 kilos chicken legs. I'm going to split them between the two machines, okay? So while we're at this, I'm just going to quickly, now that you can see the two machines from an overhead perspective, I'm going to quickly show you the difference between these two machines, okay? So in a nutshell, what these two machines do is that they, unlike your typical like food processor or blender or whatever, they can actually cook for you, right? And the way they do that are fairly similar, but with some differences as well, okay? This is the Thermomix bowl, and this is the Magimix bowl. Now, I'm using a Thermomix TM6 here. I do have a TM7, but for this particular exercise, they both perform the same, essentially, okay? And I will cover the differences between the two machines in a short while. Okay, so this is my 3 kilos of chicken legs. Got some potatoes here, not that much. And then what we're going to use, apart from the curry powder, is we're going to use some onion, some garlic, which I've already minced up, okay? And we're gonna use some lemongrass, okay? This is frozen lemongrass. Okay, so if you stick around here, you're going to be able to pick up some of my, you're gonna be able to pick up organically how I approach my cooking, okay, for better or worse, okay? Keeping in mind, I cook for my business. So I do apply certain shortcuts, but I also have some criteria in terms of not adapting my recipes to the point where people are not going to buy them, okay? So if, for instance, you are like gluten intolerant, you're vegetarian, you want a low-fat, whatever kind of diet, I don't generally accommodate that, okay? So you can adapt it for yourself, but you know, don't get thrown off by the amount of like seasoning or whatever I use in my ingredients, okay? Because they are made so that I can actually sell them if I so want. Not today, obviously. But okay, so this is frozen lemongrass. A lot of you may not be aware that in the freezer section of your here, at least here in Australia, of your decently sized Asian grocery store, you're going to find a whole array of like frozen ingredients like this. And obviously I always say that fresh is best, but sometimes frozen might work better in your circumstance, okay? And also they tend to be cheaper as well, okay? So we're going to use some of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to chop up the onion in these machines. And you can see right away how these bowls differ, okay? This Magimix bowl's capacity is 3.5 liters. The Thermomix bowl is 2.2 liters, okay? So you can already see there's a big difference, and obviously the Thermomix bowl is almost like a blender bowl. It's tall and narrow. The Magimix bowl is, okay, is round and squat, okay? You see that? Okay, and all these, I'm not going to say which one is superior to the other. It all depends on how you use it and what your priorities are, right? So let me just pull out my gloves, okay? So how are we going to tackle the chicken? Sorry, just let me, I'm very conscious of like drips and whatever, especially when dealing with raw meat and especially chicken. Okay, so how I would do this is two different ways, okay? One way is to toss curry powder through the chicken and coat them. The other way is for the curry powder to get blitzed, like mixed in to the spice mix, right? So either way works. What we're going to do today is we're going to toss them and cover the chicken with them, okay? So I can explain a little bit about why what I'm using, okay? So half of this here, half of this here, and my garlic is already minced, but otherwise I would have thrown the garlic in here. So, and I know a few of you have seen the Thermomix in action, but many of you have not seen the Magimix in action until 2 weeks ago. A week ago, I hadn't actually seen the Magimix in action either. Okay, so this is locked in, and at the end of this, I'm going to actually talk about the features and functionalities if they don't get covered during this session, okay? So the other thing I want to point out with the Magimix is that this is not the only bowl. It also comes with this massive three-part bowl here, okay? It's got a bowl inside a bowl inside a bowl, and technically the idea is that if you want to do a proper blend, puree or whatever, you should be using the processor bowl, okay? But right now I'm going to have a go at actually using this for just as though it were a blender, okay? And keep in mind that the bowl is wider, and also the blade is not sharp. It doesn't actually blend as finely as the Thermomix might do, okay? I'm gonna set this to the crushed ice setting here and click on auto. Let's see how it goes. Okay, this is the crushed ice setting. You see, it's just chopped it up basically. Okay, you the other setting, which is the finer setting, is the smoothie setting. I don't necessarily need it that fine for this particular recipe, so I might leave it at crushed ice, but I'm gonna blitz it again. Just give me 2 seconds while I head into my kitchen and grab a spatula, which I forgot. Okay, so let's just scrape this down. You see how it looks, okay? It's about 10 seconds or so, or in the crush ice setting, okay? So not that fine, and if you want it finer, you can set it on the smoothie setting, or you can swap it out with a food processor bowl, which is more narrow and can do a more polished job of it, okay? But I think this is adequate. I'm going to use the pulse option. Okay, let's have a look. So pulsing it, it's given me this. So it's still a little bit chunky. Can you see that? Okay. Let me try the smoothie setting. I'm still figuring this thing out as we go, okay? I've only so far yesterday made some sambal in this. Some sambal belacan, which I can show you guys later on. Better yet, you can join my school community, link down the bottom left here, and you get a lot more content from me. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the smoothie setting this time. Can you hear that? Let's have a look. See, the fact that the bowl is more squat is also, it's, I guess you could say, it's downfall, right? Because it's got a wider area to blitz in. And the other thing is, again, the blade is not sharp, unlike the Thermomix's blade, okay? So you've got it chunky like this. Okay. Let's blitz it again. Okay, here you go. I think this is adequate for our dish. Okay, so it's kind of like choppy, not completely fine. And what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to add garlic to it. More garlic, why not? Okay. And then I'm going to add oil. Okay. And then on with the lid. I'm going to take off the cap here so that the steam can escape. And now I'm going to go into the cooking mode and go to stir fry. Okay. And the stir fry mode is actually locked in to cook at a maximum of 7 minutes, and it automatically stirs intermittently. Can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear it. It's not stirring right now. And then also it cooks at 160 degrees Celsius. Okay, so while that's doing its thing, I'm going to blend the remaining onion here in the Thermomix. And you're going to see the Thermomix. 2 seconds. Let's have a look. So in 2 seconds, it's basically generated a similar texture of onion to what it took me several goes in the Magimix to do, okay? Again, I'm going to add some garlic here. Scrape it down. I'm going to add some oil. I'm going to cover it. Again, cap off. And this time I'm going to cook this. Okay, let's do it for 7 minutes as well, alright? 7, okay? Now, when I do it this way, in the TM6, and I'm going to put it on reverse spin, right? When I do it this way, and just on a gentle stir, the thing about the Thermomix that's different from the Magimix is that the blade has to keep moving, okay? There is one setting in the TM7 where it doesn't have to move, but you need to actually do it with open cooking, and also it means that it burns. Whereas with the Magimix, it can do intermittent stirring, okay? It stirs and stops for a while, and then it stirs again. The Thermomix, it has to keep stirring, okay? So that's the difference between the two of them. So both of them at 7 minutes cooking. There's 120 degrees, which is the maximum temperature here. Though with the TM7, you can get maximum of 160 degrees as well, okay? And we're gonna let this cook while I get a bigger bowl for this and toss some curry powder through this. So if you've always wondered how to make a Malaysian chicken curry, this is how I would do it, okay? I'm going to split this in half because my bowl is quite big enough to handle all 3 kilos, okay? So let's do this. And, okay, curry powder, chuck it in. Now, how much curry powder would I use? It depends, okay? If I'm doing a chicken on the bone, I would lightly coat, I would use enough curry powder to make sure that the chicken is lightly coated, okay? If I were doing fish, I'd make it even more lightly coated. If I were doing a red meat, I would make it quite, I would use more, okay? So, lightly coated, by that I mean like enough to cover the chicken more or less, with no leftover curry powder at the bottom. Meat, you would have some leftover. Fish, you would just lightly drench it, okay? But again, it also applies, personal preference applies here as well. If you like your curry to be very, very spice heavy, like a lot of our Indian friends do, you can use more, okay? The Chinese tend to be very light-handed with their curry, sometimes to a fault, so that the curry tastes barely spicy, okay? It tastes like it barely has any spice in it. The Nyonyas and the Malays, I think, have the balance right. Okay, they use enough for it to really pop, but not so much that it overwhelms all the flavors. But again, very much a personal opinion thing, personal preference thing. Okay, so this is what you want to do. While that's cooking, I've got 3, 4, 8 chicken legs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here. Okay, so 8 and 9 pieces. It feels as though the pieces here are a bit bigger, but that's okay. Put this aside. Some of the part of the complaint about the Thermomix is that the bowl is too narrow, right? So it doesn't fit a lot. Okay, so we're going to see how it handles this. Let me just share this. And if you're watching now, make sure you comment, react, like, or whatever, so that it tells Google to share this out to more people, okay? Let me just share this out while it's cooking. Share to groups. Done. Okay, post. And usually with the Thermomix, there's actually a simmer, a splash guard that you can put over it. There isn't one for the Magimix, okay? So the splash guard, the idea is that it prevents like all the oil splatter from coming through, okay? With the Magimix, if you want a splash guard, if you're worried about like oil spitting out sort of thing, you'll have to put something else on it yourself, okay? like a little mesh or something like that. Just clean this up. And also with the Thermomix versus the Magimix, another point of difference is that the Magimix is not touchscreen. Okay, if you're used to a touchscreen thinger with TM6 and TM7, it's going to take a little bit of adjusting to realize that there's like these buttons that you press left and right. Okay, so this is after 7 minutes in the stir fry function. Okay, you can see for me this is not anywhere near ready. Okay, this is still the onion is barely caramelized. So what I'm going to do is do the stir fry function again for another 7 minutes. Okay, so let me just go out of it and then go back in and then start. Okay, and the start button does not actually say start, it says auto, right? So that's another thing you got to wrap your head around. And the third thing you got to wrap your head around, there's no cookie dough that's built into your machine with the Magimix, right? So you're going to have to be comfortable cooking without the without actually wanting to have everything automated. With the Thermomix, you can log into Cookie Dough on your computer or on the app on your phone, and then select I want to cook this dish, and it will show up on your machine. You can't actually do that with a Magimix. Okay, now what I do know about the Magimix is that apparently it's built by the same people who built like commercial machines like the robot Cool, right? Which is very, very highly regarded in the industry. But I think by the same token as well, because it's built, like its background is in professional grade machines, right? It's not as like kind of like, I guess, user intuitively friendly as the TM6 or the TM7 for that matter. Okay, this is even paler after 7 minutes, as you would expect. So let's do this for another 7 minutes. 120 degrees. And just let it stir. Okay. Now, so far you've got the onion and the garlic and the oil that are cooking in here, and then the curry powder that's been tossed through the chicken legs. And then what you're going to need afterwards, the lemongrass, and also we're going to chuck in some potatoes later on and some coconut cream. Okay, now if you think like the lemongrass and the curry powder spices and the onion and the garlic, because you notice that I still actually had to peel the onion and the garlic and cut them up to chuck them in here, right? If you think all that's too much, there is always my range of dry curry paste kits. Okay, my meat curry, one of the most popular, that you can use, where instead of all this, you just chuck a packet of this in, chuck in your meat and let it stir fry for like a few minutes, and then chuck in your coconut milk and your water and cook it till it's done. Okay, so much easier if you want to actually save time in the kitchen and save your sanity while you're out shopping trying to track down the 50 ingredients that go into a typical Malaysian recipe as well. Okay. And again, don't forget to let me know where you're watching from, and let me know if you own a Thermomix, a Magimix, or if you have any intention of ever owning either of these. I'm curious to know where everybody stands on these machines. I know there are some hardcore Malaysians. I'm going to move myself here to the middle so that actually I'm going to move it. Yeah. Okay, so that you can see these in action fully. The other thing you'll notice with the TM6 is that it doesn't have a glass lid, okay? So you can't actually see through what's going on. And in fact, this is not helped with the next version, which is the TM7, which is this. it not only does not have it's got a tiny hole here. This one does not have a hole at all. It's only got a couple of vents here on the side. You flip through the back of it, you see this is all covered. Okay, so you can't peek through the your bowl to see what's going on. And if you stop this now, it's going to take 20 seconds counting down for it to cool down enough for it to release the handle so that you can open it to check on the state of your dish, okay? Whereas with this it doesn't. You can just press stop and the lid will release immediately, okay? So that's another difference that I've noticed. Everybody is very quiet here. I can see some of you around, but nobody is saying anything. Make sure you say hello. Let me know where you're watching from so that I can give you a shout out here. Okay, I don't know if you can see through the glass lid that this is browning a bit. Okay, so that's a good sign. We've got 2 minutes left, 1.5 minutes left here. This is a chicken that we're going to chuck in. And more chicken. Somebody's going to be eating chicken all week. And some coconut cream that's going in there. And for the record, right, we're going to chuck these in straight, but at my restaurant what I used to do is actually separately fry these in the deep fryer and then toss it through in the curry towards the end. Otherwise they tend to go a little bit too soft sometimes, okay? But for this exercise we're going to chuck it in, okay? And we're going to actually, I'll be interested to see if all this chicken can fit into the Thermomix bowl and how it handles it, okay? As far as pricing is concerned, I actually got this Magimix on sale. It's on a clearance sale at the moment here in Australia. So they're clearing out these red and the black models. So if you hurry, you might be able to get a good deal on it. I actually own 4 Thermomixes. I sold one of my Thermomixes to fund this one, basically. So it's no skin off my nose to actually have a new toy here. So I'm not being like unnecessarily lavish in my spending. I just wanted, like, instead of having 4 Thermomixes, I wanted to know how the Magimix will basically add to my my kitchen. Okay, so that's it. You hear that beep, it tells me that it's done. So again, that's what it looks like. Okay, it's brownish, but it's a kind of a light creamy color. I'm gonna chuck the chicken in. I think this Magimix will suit people with larger households who have a bigger volume of food that they want to cook, because that seemed to be one of the complaints among would-be Thermomix customers, which was that it's not big enough, right, for their family. Okay, so let's see how this handles this amount of cooking. I'm gonna add the potato later on, but I'm gonna chuck in some of the frozen lemongrass. I like lemongrass, so I might chuck in a third one. Okay, and we're gonna add a bit of the coconut cream. I will add some water later on too, but I don't want to go too crazy in case it produces too much liquid here, yeah? As the Thermomix, for those of you who own a Thermomix, you'll know that that is prone to actually generating a lot of moisture. Okay, so the Thermomix is done too. I'm just going to close this, and I'm actually going to put the lid on this time. Actually, you know what? No, let's leave it off, okay? I'm going to go into the stir fry mode still, okay? Why not? Okay, I'm literally just making this up as I go, okay? Okay, let it do its thing. Okay, this is what this looks like, okay? So it's a lot lighter after 14 minutes of cooking. Doesn't matter. We're gonna chuck in the chicken here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? So this is 1 piece fewer than the Magimix. And goes some lemongrass. And some curry powder, some coconut cream. The lid's popping a little. Let's do this again for 7 minutes. 120. And reverse stir, okay? I don't know if I can fit this in here because it's already quite full. You know what? I'm going to put lids on both of these now because I want to make sure that the chicken cooks through properly. Here we go. Once the lids go in, you're going to find that they keep the heat in really well, which means that however long it takes you to cook this on your stove in the kitchen, you need to account for that and compensate that by reducing the cooking time. Okay, let me just change my layout here. Okay, so far cooking away. Be interesting to see how the flavors turn out in the end. Okay, so everything so far is exactly the same, notwithstanding the fact that the top temperature here in manual mode is 120, in here is 160. Okay. I don't know if you can hear, the Thermomix is stirring and stirring and stirring. With the Magimix, it's stirring, it's stopping, and then it's stirring again, okay? And while it's cooking, if you're interested to learn more Malaysian cooking at a level that will not just impress people, but you know that you could potentially take towards actually making money from your food, you should join my school community. All it is essentially is a cooking club, an online Malaysian cooking club, and what you get to do by being a member, apart from all the bonus resources that are there already, including some free courses and free recipes and all that, is that twice a week you get to join me if you so wish. A lot of people just know that it's there. It's just like a gym membership. When you feel like it, you join, but you get to join me on Zoom because what I do is I cook. Okay, and you can cook as well, and a lot of my students who do join do cook along, cook their own thing, and then we kind of share ideas, share tips, and also just gas bag. And it's a very nice, friendly, supportive community. It sounds really cheesy to someone like me who doesn't necessarily think in those terms. I'm very transactional in a lot of things. Okay, I'll tell you what you get to learn and stuff like that, but by and large, the people in my school community who actually were a carryover from my Malaysian Hawker Pro full-blown coaching program, which you can find out more about as well at malaysianhawkerpro.com. basically 80% of my school community members are people who join me through Malaysian Hawker Pro. They get free access to my school community. But even if you don't join my Malaysian Hawker Pro program, where you get to learn all the recipes from my restaurant menu from back in the day, you can still join our school community and be a part of our cook-alongs, essentially twice a week, okay, at different time slots, so that regardless where in the world you're based, you can still join us. And also, if you're interested in my products, I've got a range of these curry pastes that I forgot that I'm not overhead. This is my meat curry paste, and also I've got rendang, I've got laksa, I've got a bunch of other stuff there that you can order, and I ship around the world. Unfortunately not the US at the moment, because Australia Post does not ship to the US because of the tariff situation right now, okay? And I've just got too much going on to try and like find alternative arrangements instead, okay? So this stir fry mode, I hope I'm using this right, because this is my first time cooking this in a Thermomix. This is probably my second time ever cooking chicken curry in a Magimix, and probably my second time ever cooking it in a Thermomix, okay? So we're gonna see how it looks in just 1 minute here, and we're gonna add some water, or probably depending on how it's looking. I can hear the chicken getting knocked about here, so I'm a little bit concerned that, you know, it doesn't actually beat it up too much, so that it starts to kind of like flake off the bone, okay? But yeah, the good thing about this being a glass lid though is the fact that you can actually look in, okay? The other thing about the Magimix, apart from the bigger bowl, the glass lid is also, and the higher temperature like threshold, is the fact that the steamer component is all metal, okay? And I know that matters to some of you who are concerned about plastics, okay? Even though the Thermomix Varoma, which is their steamer attachment, is actually made from BPA-free plastic, some people are still concerned about that. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's after 7 minutes. Doesn't seem like a lot's happening. I'm going to add some water to this. And cover it. Oops, the other way around. And let me just have a look through, because like I said, this is my first time using this for chicken curry, only my second time using it. Really? Okay, let's have a look. Let's go here and see what other modes there are. I'm going to go to the expert mode. Let's have a look what that means. Okay, expert mode. Okay, let me just get out of expert mode, go back to cooking mode. There's cream soup, pureed soup, simmering. Okay, let's try simmering, okay? It says 30 minutes. I don't think I need 30 minutes. I want to reduce this to 20. Okay. I'm going to increase the temperature here. (110). Okay, so start. Okay, so now it's on simmering mode. Slightly lower temperature, 110 degrees. And let me just change my screen overhead. Okay. This, okay, again, chicken still pretty raw. Let's add some water. Okay. Cover it back up. And we're gonna simmer this also for 20 minutes. 110 degrees, and reverse stir. Okay, so essentially they're on the same page in terms of what they're doing. Obviously with the Thermomix it's constantly stirring, whereas with the Magimix is on the setting 1A, which means that it literally stirs every 30 seconds or something like that. I don't know, I don't have the card here on me, so I can't really be sure. Okay, I almost feel inclined to increase the temperature. Okay, I might actually do that. I'm going to increase it to 120. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, but that aside, they're both doing the same thing. And front line. Okay. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is my upcoming culinary tour of Malaysia. A small group of us are going. So far I've got 4 people. I've got room for maybe a couple more, okay? I prefer to keep it small. We had a big group go not last year, just over a year ago in late 2024. And that was a lot of fun, but the group I felt was too big and a little bit impersonal and a little bit tick the box in terms of where we wanted to go, because we had to hire a big tour bus. This time we're not going to do that. This time we're going to make it small and cozy, and we're going to find our own way around 3 states in Malaysia, and the focus is on the food. First of all, we're going to hunt down all these like unheralded places that you're not going to find in the latest Michelin guide to Malaysia, okay? But places that the locals know and love, and that don't get the notification about they don't get the attention that they, I think, deserve. Secondly, I'm going to be filming there with my Malaysian Masters of Malaysian Cuisine group of chefs. So you're going to rub shoulders with a couple of them, and we're going to be filming in Perak. The same thing, essentially, some of these places that are like loved by the locals themselves, and also we're going to feature some of the recipes. And thirdly, we're going to do some cooking workshops, okay? So this is across KL, obviously, because we're going to start from KL and end in KL, but we're going to spend a lot of time in Perak, and we're going to spend about a couple of nights in Malacca as well, which is another one of my favorite food destinations in Malaysia. So Perak, including obviously Ipoh, my favorite place to hang out. A lot of the time in Malaysia, we go to Ipoh every single time we're in Malaysia, and hopefully we get to visit some of the other places outside of Ipoh as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2 of the people who are joining me on this tour actually were on my previous tour. They loved it so much. They love my company so much that they're coming along. They're bringing another friend. Then we've got another gentleman who's from my school community who's going to be joining us. So if you want to join, make sure you go and my website, jackiem.com.au. It's probably one of my recent blog posts about Jackie M's culinary tour number 2. And otherwise, you can go to bit.ly/Jackie M Tour 2, the number 2, all lowercase, and that will take you to that blog post with all the details as well. Okay, so that's happening in early January for 8 nights. Okay. Yeah, if you've got any questions about all these things, hit me up. But in the meantime, this is cooking. And the other thing as well, if you're wondering about these 2, okay, the pricing. Now, obviously I'm using TM6. Nowadays they don't sell the TM6. They've got TM7 here. It's got up the back. And the price of the TM7, I can't remember. I'm not a consultant, by the way, guys, but if you're interested in a TM7, I can refer you to what I think is the best consultant I've ever come across. And if I make the sale, I get a share. She rewards me a little bit. But I'm not technically a Thermomix consultant, and neither do I have any association with the Magimix. Okay, this was recommended to me by one of my Malaysian Hooker Pro students, who told me that she thought that I might find some use for this in my business, and she might be right. Okay, and while we're waiting for these 2 to cook, okay, they've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to show you what I made last night in the Magimix. Okay. Okay, so let me just change the screen layout. I'm still here, even though you can't see me. Okay, here I am. One of the things I make a lot in my Thermomix is sambal belacan. Okay, fried sambal belacan. This is what it looks like. Okay, after it's been fried for about an hour. Okay, see the oil? It's got belacan, onion, chili, and other seasoning in it. And the same thing, cooked in the Magimix yesterday. Okay, last night. Okay, so it's fried it drier and darker, more caramelized for the same period of time. Okay, can you see the difference? Okay, so this is the same recipe, both of which I have, which I have actually taught my Thermomix students, because I do actually run Thermomix for Malaysian cooking workshops as well, right? Exactly the same recipe, same amount of time. This is what the Thermomix yielded, lighter colored, and this is what the Magimix yielded, okay? Darker color, okay? And drier and more caramelized, okay? So the difference may be redundant to you, okay? Or it may mean a lot. Okay. Now, the reason for the difference, obviously, is because the Thermomix, like I said, the top threshold with the temperature is 120 in the TM6. Now, the other thing I want to point out that's different between the Thermomix and the Magimix is that the TM7 can actually reach 160 degrees in manual cooking now, but what you can't do is use too little ingredients in it. Say, for instance, you're thinking that you want to stir fry some like say fried rice or whatever in it, okay? You set the TM7 at 160 degrees, and what you want to do is start heating up some oil, and then you add the garlic. You know, all the Chinese recipes tell you heat up oil in wok, add garlic, sizzle it, and then add everything else. You can't do that in the TM7, because if you only add oil or even add oil and some minced garlic in it, it will tell you there's not enough volume in your bowl for it to work, okay? Whereas with the Magimix, that's another difference. It allows you to do that. So you can actually set it on, say, like stir fry mode, get it started, pour in some oil, and 2 minutes later add in all the other ingredients, and it will sizzle them, okay? So that is the difference. I'm not saying if that's better or if it's not. I tried it yesterday to sizzle some oil in here at 160 degrees, and then I added the garlic, and it turned out the oil was already too hot. When I sizzled the garlic, it actually burnt the garlic, ironically, right? But with the Thermomix, you couldn't actually just add, like, you know, a small amount of like 2 teaspoons of garlic in it to sizzle. It will say that there's not enough volume for the Thermomix to kick in, okay? It does need like a bowl of stuff in it to work. And the reason for all this, I will say, is because both machines are designed not by Asians. Okay, so this is about nearly 10 minutes into this cooking. Let me just open it up. Okay, this is not nearly cooked yet. You see with the Thermomix, it's hotter. Okay, you can see all the steam coming through it, and that's a good sign. I'm going to actually, in 3 minutes, chuck in the potatoes into the Thermomix. I feel as though the Magimix is going to need more time cooking. Because if you see the amount of steam generated from here, you can tell that it's very, very hot, okay? And in fact, I'm going to reduce the temperature to 100 degrees. It was 110 just now. And I'm going to open the lid a bit. Okay, this is too hot for me to open the lid properly, so I'm going to leave it for the moment. I'll do it in a second. So quite interesting, at 120 degrees, it hasn't, like, you're not seeing any steam being released, and when I open it up, the chicken is actually still raw, at least the bits at the top anyway. Okay, let me just stop the Thermomix. Now it's cooling down. It won't release the lid for 20 seconds. But once it's released, I'll take this and remove the cap so that I can actually let some of the steam off. Okay, you see this is how it looks at the moment. So you want to add some potatoes in it. Then cover it. Okay, I want to leave the cap slightly open and continue cooking. Let's see if it does anything. Let me know if you've got any questions so far. And don't forget, if you want to make sure you get all the information from me as much as you can, your best bet is my school community. That's the lowest entry point to my space, unless of course you can sign up to my newsletter. I send out recipes every now and then. My newsletter sign up is at jackiem.com.au/email, and the important thing about signing up to my email list is you need to confirm your subscription. Okay, I see a lot of people actually sign up but they don't confirm the subscription, because what happens is once you sign up, you're going to receive an email in your inbox from my email provider. Say, are you sure you want to sign up? And you're supposed to open it up and say yes, click on the confirm I do want to sign up option. Okay, otherwise it does not get added to my list. Okay, you see, leaving the lid open, it's not steaming up so much anymore. I want to put the lid back on because I worried that the potatoes won't cook properly. There's 7.5 minutes left on this here, and we're going to see how it looks at the end of that. And 6.5 minutes in the Magimix. Okay. I haven't added the potatoes yet. I'm thinking, okay, fine. I'll add the potatoes now. I'm very intrigued that this is there's not a lot happening here, so I'm going to stop this for a second and see what the hell's going on. Okay, so it is boiling, and I'm going to just try and move the chicken around because the top pieces are not moving down. Okay, so you're going to find with the Magimix, I suspect it's going to need a little bit more. It's a little bit less intuitive, a little bit less hands-off than your Thermomix. Okay. Simmering, here we go. Let's move this around. Force it in. Okay, I'm not sure if the simmering mode is the best mode for it. I'm going to chuck in the potatoes and check. Let's have a look. It's cooking okay. Simmering 1A. Okay, let's go. Simmering, stir fry, steam, cream soup, pureed soup, simmering, stir fry. Okay, I'm going to go into the expert mode. Okay, and with the expert mode, I'm going to cook it for 11 minutes. Speed, I'm going to reduce the speed to 2A, and I'm going to go temperature at 140 degrees. Okay, because I feel that 120 wasn't quite cutting it. Start. If you've got any suggestions as well, especially for those of you who are pro users of the Magimix or the Thermomix for that matter, hit me up with your suggestions and I will take them on board. I have owned Thermomixes of various models for about 10 years, but Magimix, I'm a brand new user of it. Thermomixing with shares. The TM7 browning mode allows to cook at 160 degrees in small quantities. Also high heat on TM6 with chopped garlic, burns easily. Recommended to use whole garlic. Okay, cool. Magimix allows for whole drumsticks, whereas the Thermomix is a tight fit, requires a butterfly to help stir. Okay, I've lost my butterfly mix. I've lost my butterfly thinger, but I think it's actually doing okay. We'll see how it goes anyway. But thanks for these comments, Sharon. For those who don't know, Sharon is a Thermomix consultant herself. That's why she knows these things. Yeah, the TM7 browning mode, 160 degrees at small quantities. Okay. High heat on TM6 with chopped garlic, burns easily. I've never tried it with chopped garlic on on the TM6. It's recommended to use whole garlic. I thought the recipe was actually for sliced garlic, but I could be wrong. I know with the TM6 you can unlock like 160 degree temperature for specific cookie dough recipes for specific amounts. Okay, so you can't actually do it in larger amounts. Say for instance with the browning mode on the TM6, you can only brown like 200 grams of onion at a go. You can't do like, if you chop up 2 onions and you've got like 250 grams, it'll tell you, sorry, you got too much onions, right? So that's one irksome thing about the TM6. TM7 does not have that restriction. But I found that the TM7, without the being able to peek through it, you can't actually tell when your food is browned or overly brown. And I had that happen with using the TM7 when I tried to actually, knowing that it doesn't have that locked in like you know, amount that you can use. I tried to actually cook a larger batch of onion, and because I couldn't see through the lid, I didn't know that the onion was getting overly brown, sort of thing, and I ended up burning a batch of it. So I've kind of left the browning mode in both TM6 and TM7 alone for a while now, and just basically settled with the 120 degree threshold. Okay. So again, I'm just messing around with the Magimix. I tried the simmering mode. It felt as though like it wasn't cooking fast enough, long enough, fast enough at a high enough temperature. And now I've changed it to expert mode, 140 degrees, and stirring it intermittently. Stirring it a little bit faster than what it was doing previously, but let's see what happens. Okay, with the TM6, I've only got 1 minute and 40 seconds left on this with the potatoes. Let's see what happens after this. I'm going to get a couple of bowls so I can pour these out onto, so we can see properly how they look at the end. Okay. You know what? I totally forgot. Seasoning. So let's add some seasoning while this is going. And everybody knows my favorite seasoning is chicken powder. For 1.5 kilos, I'll add 1.5 tablespoon. Okay, I can tell already that the potatoes are not happening here. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to add a pinch of sugar in both of these. You can always adjust the seasoning later. And a pinch of salt if you want, yeah? Which reminds me, I've forgotten to buy salt again at the shops. Okay, I'm going to increase the Thermomix cooking time here. stop responding. It's very annoying. Okay, now we'll do it. Okay, let me add an extra 3 minutes to this at 105 degrees and reverse stir. I don't know if like 1.5 kilos of chicken is too much for the Thermomix with the bone on, but we'll see in a minute. But when I was a Thermomix consultant, I've had some of my customers complain that it doesn't handle cooking chicken very well because it basically shreds the chicken. But we will see. Okay, this is counting down. Last minute to go, and 3 minutes over here. It's very agak-agak, by the way, guys. If you know the way I cook, there's a lot of like adapting and adjusting as you go along, and that's how I like people to think about cooking, especially when they're cooking Malaysian food. Okay, it's not an exact science. Different, like, even, I mean, people say, oh, baking you need to be exact with all your measurements. No, I've not found that to be the case. Like your humidity in the air and all that sort of stuff will come into play as well. Okay, so don't be too tied down to exact formulas and exact ratios and all that sort of stuff. They're all kind of broad generalizations and guidelines, but you need to be able to adapt when you cook, especially when you cook the way I do. Okay. So we're gonna see whether it's true that the Thermomix bowl is too narrow for proper big batch cooking. Okay, 16 seconds left. Let's see, and see whether it cooks properly. Oh, this temperature's not been set. Okay, but I think it's still sitting on top. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if I can stir this around. Let me change the screen layout. Okay, so the potatoes did not magically sink to the bottom. It was kind of wishful thinking on my part. Like Sharon said, you know, the blade is not strong enough to stir everything around. Okay, so we're going to have to move the potatoes back down, let it cook a little bit longer. Let me just check on how well the meat is done. Okay, it looks as though the meat is just about done. Could probably cook a little bit longer. You can see the color is beautiful though, right? Okay, I have a feeling that the meat at the bottom is going to be more beaten up. Okay, you see it coming off the bone a bit, you know it's done when it's in that shape. So let's move these around and chuck everything back into the Thermomix and cook it a little bit longer. In the meantime, see this one here? A perfect example of the Thermomix bowl and chicken falling off the bone. Okay, I need some tongs. Let me go get that. So the flavors should be there, but the aesthetics may not. Okay, because your chicken's gonna look a bit like it's been through a 9-round fight. Okay, let's take this out. And the 2 pieces of chicken that was sitting on top, we're gonna 3 pieces. Yeah, this one should be done. Okay, so there's more chicken in here, more potatoes. I'm just gonna, flavor wise, it's not bad. Let me try a little bit more. Okay, could probably use a touch more seasoning. Gonna add a little bit more. I'm gonna cook this for another 3 minutes, okay? Reverse stir. Okay, but this is what the chicken looks like from the TM6. Okay, see some of the pieces getting beaten up and tearing off the bone. But you know, as long as you're fine feeding this to, you know, if you're just feeding this to your family, that's totally fine. Okay, likewise with this, the potatoes are still swimming at the top. Let's see how the meat is faring. Okay, there's slightly more chicken. Okay, this chicken is still bloody. You can see that. Okay. Just take out some of the chicken pieces. Check how well done they are. Okay, this looks like it could cook a bit longer. Get so it looks like it's done. There's a bit more volume in this here. So the chicken pieces are bigger, and also there's an extra piece of chicken, and also more of the potatoes because I couldn't fit them into the Thermomix. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm gonna move this down. And I think I'm gonna need a bit more chicken powder. Just a vibe I got. Add a pinch more sugar. Okay. Okay, let's do this again. Expert mode. Time. Let's do it for 5 minutes. And start. So one thing I do notice with the Magimix bowl, the lid, sorry, when I take it off the lid, you gotta be careful that, because it collects water, moisture at the top, it's gotta be careful it doesn't just drip all over, okay, which it has just done. Let's have a look at the Thermomix. I really should use a spoon, but let me check on the state of the potatoes in here. Okay, the potatoes are still raw. Let's cook it a little bit longer. I want to crank it up to 120 degrees now. This is what I mean about adapting as you go, okay? And for the record, for those of you who are checking out my school community, you'll find that the price of entry here, like I said, is very, very low. Everybody's grabbing the annual membership because it's at the founding members rate right now. But that's not going to last, okay? I'm going to increase it. I'll probably double it or close to double it by next week. So make sure you go and check it out now. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go and join us now before it's too late, before you miss out on the founding members price, okay? Let's go and look here. Okay, so this is the Thermomix version, this is the Magimix version. Let me just hold up the chicken. Magimix version. Okay, so the meat is sort of more intact. Still not as beautiful as cooking it on the stove, but obviously the bonus is that you don't have to do the stirring. I want to make sure it's cooked through properly. And of course, as with any curry, yeah, it is cooked through properly. As with any curry, it will taste better overnight, okay? So best if you cook it now for consumption later on. Just the flavor. Okay. Decent. Okay. You see how much more steam is generated in the Thermomix TM6, because this lid obviously provides a stronger, well, this ecosystem provides a stronger, like, you know, a better, like, kind of like a pressure cooker environment, okay? So even though here it says it's only at 100 degrees, I set it to 120, it says it's only reached 100 degrees so far. See the amount of steam that's generated? You don't see any steam here, okay? You can only assume that it's being kept in here, but I'm not necessarily, you know, we'll believe it once we see how the meat's going. This is at 140 degrees, by the way, and this is at 120. I'm going to stop this because I worry about the chicken overcooking. It was mostly the potatoes I wanted to actually cook through properly. So I've just stopped this. It's going to take 20 seconds to settle before it allows me to open the lid and dig out the chicken. Because I think the chicken should be done by now. I just don't want them to get shredded. Okay. Okay, here we go. Chicken. Here's the chicken. Okay, you see the chicken's very soft and shredded. Let's just check the potatoes. See if they're soft enough. Okay, yeah, the potato's done. Okay, so no need to cook it all the way. I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to use a bigger serving bowl. This is a big batch over here. Whoops. Okay. And I've got some lemongrass fibers trapped between the blades, but that's okay, yeah. Here you go. That's the Thermomix version of my Malaysian chicken curry here. Let's just taste test this. Okay. Decent. Okay. Potatoes all cooked through. Okay, I'm gonna take some photos and show it to you guys, and I'll share the recipe to my email list as well, so make sure you sign up to my email list, jackiem.com.au/email. We're just waiting on the other lot to come through. Okay, let's have a look. Okay. Boiling along. Okay. The potatoes still slightly al dente from what I can gather. I think it'll be okay once it's stayed in here a bit longer. So I might actually leave it in this bowl. See, some of the chicken also got beaten up. Okay, maybe because I've got it in the wrong mode. I've got it in the Expert 2A mode. So it's no different to the Thermomix in terms, obviously, oops, what am I doing? I'm going to let it sit in here for another 10 minutes so that the potatoes can actually still soften up a little bit more. I mean, but it's done otherwise. Let's just taste a bit of the sauce. Okay, yeah, it's decent. Feels to me like it needs a little bit more sugar somehow. I'm gonna taste it a little bit more. Missing your agar-agar. I know, right? Let's have a look. Yeah, I could use a bit more sugar. So what I'll say is that as far as the two machines, this looks like a much bigger serve, yeah? But obviously you need to know how to use it, and I am still figuring it out. And in the process, I've managed to shred some of the chicken because this was spinning at a higher speed than it actually needed to. Obviously, I didn't think of it that way. I thought, oh, well, you know, it's got a lot of sauce, it needs to move around, because I was worried that the chicken wasn't actually going to, like, get close enough to cook properly. Okay, but essentially, both of these machines do the same thing, essentially, right? They have slightly different features. If you want something that's narrow and a lot, very efficient, in terms of its cooking, the Thermomix is the way to go. If you want something with a bigger capacity that has more flexibility in terms of how you use it, in other words, the way I cook, like a bit of agar-agar, Carol says Magimix. Clearly, I need to actually use this a bit more, get a little bit more comfortable with its settings. This last setting I had was on expert mode, and with the speed pre-selected at speed 2, which is still intermittent spinning, but with shorter intervals, you know what I mean? So at speed 2 with a shorter interval, cooking like all these chicken legs, as it turned out, it was too fast and it was breaking up my chicken legs. That's not a good thing, okay? So next time I would actually cook it at speed 1, which is intermittent spinning with longer intervals, okay? when I had it on simmering mode earlier, it felt to me that it wasn't stirring enough. That's why I overcompensated and got it to stir at speed 2, which turned out to be a mistake. Okay, when it wasn't stirring enough, it felt as though the chicken at the top was still raw, whereas the bottom were cooking fine. Okay, so when I took out the bits on the bottom and continued cooking the raw chicken, I got it spinning a bit too fast and they're all broken up. Okay, as far as pricing is concerned, at full price, this is slightly cheaper than the TM7. Okay, not the TM6, which is out of commission now. Slightly more expensive. But right now, and again, I'm just saying this for whatever reason, I'm not getting paid a cent for this. Right now, they've got a Black Friday sale on where they're trying to get rid of all the red and the black units at less than half price. Okay, which meant I was able to get this at more or less the price of what it took me to sell one of my old TM6s. Okay, so I mean, I topped it up with a little bit, but you know, I just thought, well, let's get rid of like one of my 4 Thermomixes and buy one of these Magimixes, see how it goes. It does have its strong points, but you know, your question now is it worth it to actually invest in one of these instead of the Thermomix? I don't personally think so. But if you already have a Thermomix and you need another gadget, maybe you can look at this, especially with this special pricing on at the moment. That's kind of like how I would think of it, right? I haven't yet used the food processor parts, and it comes with like a whole set of discs and all that, right? With different like things to cut your whatever into noodles and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if I'll ever find much use for them. Maybe I can use it to shred my carrots and all that for achar. We'll see. But it does take up room to have like that in your pantry. Okay. But yeah, that aside, like I said, if you only had to buy one machine, I would personally go with a Thermomix. If you already have a Thermomix and you think, oh, it's not quite, you know, it's too narrow, too small for my big family, and sometimes I want to be able to cook something that's more, you know, in bigger batches, then maybe this. Okay, and sometimes I want to cook something that's not locked into all these stupid like pre-selected settings, like determined by somebody in Germany who's never cooked Malaysian food. Then maybe Magimix maybe the way to go. Okay, so this is it. I'll think of other, if you've got any other ideas about what else you'd like me to try making in the Magimix, let me know. Otherwise, next time I think of something useful, I'll share it with you guys. In the meantime, if you're not already on my email list, jackieyam.com.au/email. Make sure you confirm your subscription, otherwise you won't get added. And this is where I send my recipes and that sort of stuff, okay? But your best bet really is to join my school community, my school online cooking club, okay, where you won't miss anything at all. Okay, thanks guys, and I will